what time you usually? Okay, I will just tell you this quickly. Okay, but I tell you what. I used to stay up till 3 a.m., pray Fajr, and then go to sleep. But then I noticed that I accomplish little bit in the day because I lose maybe until afternoon till I wake up again. So I lose like 8, 7 hours in the morning, which is very important. So I started to say, okay, you know what? I should be wise and stay asleep early. And here is the wisdom here. Or like early to bed, early to rise, make man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Here.
Nice, I like
Inshallah.
it.
Okay.
Good luck for all.
It's not only it's only not only men. So it's man and woman. So there's no discrimination here. So don't
Ladies
get
and gentlemen.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. Okay, great. So it's nice to have you guys all here today, and I'm very happy that everyone is here. I see most of you, alhamdulillah. So again, what I was telling you guys yesterday, and we have already talked about someone called Sun Tzu, and Sun Tzu was a Chinese warlord. He said, in order to win a battle or a war, you need to know yourself very well, and you need to understand your enemy, your threats, or your opponents, right? So yesterday we talked about yourself. So we talked about how would you understand your vulnerabilities, and in order to understand your vulnerabilities, you need to understand the systems that you have in your organization. So the first thing that you need to do is asset discovery. You need to know what kind of assets, whether these assets as a hardware or a software or application or a communication link within your organization. Because if you really don't understand your organization, how can you defend yourself? Okay. So this is, and you understand, and then once you know your system, then you start to find out what is your weak points, what is your vulnerabilities. And we said we can see vulnerabilities in the hardware, in the software, in application, in even the implementation of these application. And we talked about this in a very deep yesterday. Okay, so any question about what we have discussed yesterday so far?
No, all clear.
Yeah. Okay, all clear. So as we started this course as again as a revision, we started as this course talking about risk and what is the risk means. Okay, and we talked about what is information security means, and we talked about also cyber security means, and we talked yesterday also about standard, and I explained to you why standard is very important. And one of the very famous standard that's adapted in everywhere in the world, especially in the US, is called NIST publication, okay, or NIST standard, which is NIST, okay, CSF, which is stand for Critical Infrastructure, tamam, framework. This is very well known standard that exists in the US. And in a very easy way, the standard consists of core function, and in one of the core function called identification. So the first core function called identification. If you will recall yesterday in identification, they said, okay, in order to understand or to defend yourself against attacks, okay, first of all, you need to know your assets. The first thing, so asset discovery or asset management. Some books refer it to asset management. The second part is business environment. You need to understand the people you work for. You need to understand the business objective. You need to understand what is your company is all about. What is their company is trying to achieve. So you can help them by aligning your security initiative with their objectives. Okay, so your business is all about selling stuff online. So how can I make the business secure so they can sell more, okay, without any disruption? And this comes to the third part in the identification called governance, which is basically you writing policies and you align security initiative with business objectives. And the last thing that we saw in identification, which is we talked about it yesterday in a very deep details, called risk assessment. You guys recall this? Sorry, I have not added. Oh, I have added. Sorry, I have added this already slide. So instead of just trying to write everything here down, so I can just jump to stages here, and we talk about it here. So this is the cybersecurity framework, and this is the identification part. Okay, this is before we start to protect or actually detect or respond. This is the first part, is asset management, business environment, governance, risk assessment, and risk management strategy. Okay, so what is a risk assessment? Can someone recall? What is risk assessment? We talked about this yesterday. Who had the time yesterday to read the website and to go through the slides and the lecture and see what we have talked about yesterday? What is a risk assessment is all about? Okay.
Evaluating your assets and vulnerabilities and organization itself.
Okay, can you come again, Maha? I'm sorry, I missed what you're saying.
Evaluating your assets, like whether the network vulnerabilities and every aspect there, and evaluate the risks there.
Okay, perfect. MashaAllah. Maha are saying that in order to do risk assessment, you need to identify the risk within your organization. So how do you identify the risk? Okay, how you identify the risk within your organization, guys? If you guys remember, we talked about this diagram. Okay, this diagram can tell you how can we do this. The first thing that we do is basically to evaluate your environment. You look for your assets within your organization. You look for the software installed. You look for the hardware installed. And then you go for vulnerability identification. What kind of vulnerability I do have within my organization? And then you can look at the exposure determination, which is I called yesterday CVE. You guys remember what is a CVE? It's called Common Vulnerability and Exposures. Okay, and I mentioned that CVE give you a score. So every single vulnerability within your organization does have a score. Okay, the score can be very high. Okay, according at severity of this vulnerability. And once we understand what kind of assets, okay, look at this. This is what I told you. This is the output of risk assessment. You will produce a file called risk register, and in a risk register, okay, it will include your asset name, your asset criticality, the impact of losing these assets. Okay, what vulnerability we find when we scan these assets. Taban, we will talk about scanning again one more time to revise this. Okay, what kind of score this vulnerability have? So we already talked about assets and impact, vulnerabilities, and the score, and then finally we come up with something called quantitative or qualitative score. So maybe this risk is high or medium or low according to the impact criticality of these assets and the scores that we get from CFC. This is what we call it the risk assessment method. Okay, once you get the score, you can communicate this score, as I mentioned, to management, and then accordingly the management will do something called risk mitigation or risk management. And risk management, if you guys read the website, it divided to 4 categories. We have not really covered them yesterday because we didn't have time, but it's a good chance now to talk about them. I know you maybe have seen it before, but we will talk about them very quickly right now. So you have the first management methodology to deal with risk is avoidance. Okay, it's called risk avoidance. I will give it AV. Okay, another methodology called risk mitigation. Okay, another methodology called transfer, and another methodology called acceptance. So once we know our risk, we evaluated our risk, we have highlighted what is the very risky for our organization, we give it a score. Now we informed the management about this risk. Now we move to risk management. And what is risk management strategy that we have? Avoidance, mitigation, transfer, and acceptance. I will give it EC. Have you guys seen this in the website yesterday?
Is it yes or no? Okay, shall I ask questions here regarding, okay, what we mean by avoidance here? What if I said that business or the business owner have decided to avoid the risk? And by the way, guys, I was in the interview once and someone asked me about what is the difference between avoidance and acceptance. Okay, so this is a very common question. Okay, now I have also two interviews and different two interviews, and the one asked me about what is risk avoidance is, and one is asking me about what is risk acceptance is. Okay, guys. So what is the difference between them? Anyone?
Risk avoiding, you don't really need it. Yeah, so it's just an extra that, like a website, nobody's gonna use it or access it. So you don't really need it. So you don't, like it's risky to have it, like without needing, like it's just sitting there without nobody using it. And the other one, acceptance, that's something you need, but you have to accept the risk coming with it because, like you need it, like, like port 80 to access, like the internet. You still need it, but you still can have, like risk coming out, like from, like outside traffic or, like attack or anything else.
Okay, mashallah. I like what Faisal said about risk avoidance. He's mentioning that risk avoidance is I'm gonna cancel whatever is gonna bring risk to me, to my systems. Okay, so if I know that's a website, if I publish a website, that will open the door for attacks, okay, and I don't really need a website, okay, then I will cancel the whole idea of actually publishing a website. Because I said, publishing a website is a great opportunity for letting everyone in the world knows about it, you, and also to access your website. But in the same time, okay, it opens the door for cyber attacks. So I sat with the management and I said, okay, what is the business needs to have this website? So if they cannot justify the business needs, okay, and it's gonna open the door for cyber attacks, so we cancel the whole operation. This is what we call risk avoidance. Okay, guys? So everyone understand what is risk avoidance? Okay, I like what Shaza saying, transferring is to third party. Yes, this is correct. We'll come to this in 1 second. Okay, so everyone got avoidance. Avoidance, I will cancel the process that can open the door for a risk. Okay, let me say that I know that's buying a car, okay, and it's very crowded city, or maybe very dangerous to drive in this area. If I bought this car, I may end up with an accident. Okay, so I really, think about the whole process again. And they said, okay, you know what? I will not drive my own car, and maybe I will take a taxi, or maybe I will take the train to commute. So this is called, the car is a great opportunity. It will take you everywhere. It's, it's nice to have, but in the same time, it will open the door for risk. So now I'm gonna cancel the whole idea, and this is what we call risk avoidance. Okay. How about mitigation? Okay, what is a risk mitigation? Anyone? Risk mitigation?
It's to reduce the risk as much as you could. So okay. You have it, so you have to reduce it. So, like in the future, nobody can, attack it, or, like minimize, like the chances that someone will, like try to hack the system, or, like do harm to it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Faisal, also again for this. Nice. So first of all, I need to highlight thing about mitigating risk. You cannot get rid of the risk. You cannot take the risk to zero, but you can minimize or reduce the risk to the acceptable level. I mean, okay, let's say that you have a website, okay, and this website, you apply all the control in the world to this website. You maybe bought a firewall, an application firewall, security devices, or whatever, okay, to this website. Okay, will minimize or mitigate the risk of cyber attacks, but it will not take the risk to zero. Okay, so mitigating the risk means reducing the risk by implementing controls. So we are implementing different technical controls or physical controls or even managerial controls to reduce the risk of our website, because we said this website is going to generate money for us. We're going to share information about the company, so we need it to be published. Okay, but in the same time,
it's opened the door for cyber attacks. So how can I really reduce the risk of the cyber attacks? Mitigating risk means implementing controls. Okay, guys, implementing different controls. We talked yesterday also about technical controls, and I said in the technical controls we have something called preventive controls, detection controls, corrective controls, and compensating controls. Okay, everyone agrees? So far, so good? Okay, so we talked about 2 risk management strategies so far: avoidance, okay, and we talked about mitigation. Now let's talk about transfer. What we mean by transfer? Transfer, Shaza mentioned that transfer means that we are transferring the risk to someone else, and that is exactly what it means. Okay, let's say that you bought a new car, okay, and you worried about accidents. Okay, so instead of canceling the idea of buying a car, you said, I will buy the car, but I will buy insurance. What that mean? You know that there is a probability that you will have an accident, but you don't want to pay for this accident from your own pocket. You wanted some third party to pay for the accident. And that's what we call it transferring. So there is a big trend right now to do insurance, okay? And the insurance will cover the cost of incidents and the cost of cyber attacks. Okay, so you buy insurance from a company, but we need to keep in mind that the company will not give you an insurance until they will verify that you implement the system in secure way. So just don't say, okay, no, as long as I have insurance, I don't care. No, the insurance company, before they issue the insurance for you, they will send an engineer to verify your system and to audit your system and to make sure that your system is done and implemented in a secure way. Otherwise, they will say, okay, we're gonna lose money, because if you implemented the system in an unsecure way, in one day you can be compromised, and then we have to pay for it. So also insurance company are not like really stupid or something. They will give you insurance left and right. They will make sure that. And that's why, guys, even in cars, when you buy a very nice, luxurious sports car, they will increase your insurance. Why is he increasing your insurance? If you buy a sports car, this is have nothing to do with risk now. Talking about in general. If you go now buy insurance for your car and your car is a sports car that can go fast, okay?
Because maybe the limit of the speed is more than the regular cars.
Okay, and also because the mentality of the guys who drive the sports car, right? Because they tend to go very fast, right? So when you go very fast, there is a higher probability to have an accident. So at that time, they will increase the premium, the amount of money you need to pay for it. Okay, and also it's sometimes according to age. When you are below 25, when you go to insure your car, I remember the first time I got a car, I was below 25. So at that time, they give me a higher insurance. Why they give me higher insurance? Because they said that in this age, people tend to be immature. So they drive fast and they are not responsible. For that, we increase the premium. But maybe when you hit 30s, you become more mature, so they give you less premium. So this is all stuff. It's also counted when. Yeah.
Also,
so
if you have before accident, the insurance will be more.
Yeah, exactly. This is history. So they check the history, especially if you're moving from one insurance company to one insurance company. They will check the history. If they find you are a troublemaker, any accidents, so they will give you a higher premium. So if your website is being hacked before so many times, that means also an indication that you are not taking security seriously. So they will give you a very high premium when it comes to insurance. So this is the third way of management here to a risk. So we talked about avoidance. We talked about mitigation, which is reducing the risk to an acceptable level for the organization. And we talked about transfer. How about risk acceptance? What we mean by risk acceptance here? What is risk acceptance? Acceptance. We are accepting the risk. Here we have Faisal again. Go ahead, Faisal.
We are accepting the risk, as it says, like we need it, so we have to accept the risk coming from it, you know. Like, you know, like we have a payment, you know, like system in place, and it might, you know, like get compromised sometimes, and someone will steal, you know, like the credit card information, things like this, people information, maybe social security or something, but we still need this information. But, you know, like we are risking taking it and putting it in database or something. But in the future, someone might, you know, like hack that and get, you know, like hold of this information. So we still need it to process the business, you know, to still, you know, like doing business. And yeah, I believe that I know.
Okay, I saw someone else was raising his hand. Okay, I don't know if someone wanted to.
It's me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the easy way to definition the risk acceptance is when the risk is here, but it's not actually attack me or attack my system. So we don't need or to really worry about it.
Okay, this is all very good answer, guys. But let me tell you that risk acceptance mean you highlighted the risk to the management. Okay, you told them that publishing this websites, okay, it's gonna open the door, okay, for cyber attacks, and they accepted the risk. Okay, and then there is two conditions for accepting the risk. The first thing that you accept the risk is if the risk is not gonna pose a huge impact on my organization. So I'm gonna accept this cyber attack. I'm gonna go ahead and publish the website. I'm not gonna implement any security, okay? And they have informed the management about the risk, and they decided to accept it. So there is still risk, and it can impact, but the impact is not huge, okay? But for example, okay, let's say that this website is only a website, okay, for external public to see where is my contact information is. If this website is being taken down, okay, they still can reach me through my social media or through maybe through my Twitter. So they can still reach me, or through a phone book, they can find me. So the risk is not huge. No. Avoiding the risk is different. Avoiding the risk, I will not even publish the website. That means I will cancel the complete process. But I informed the management about the cybersecurity attacks, and they said, okay, you know what? Even if this website is down for 3 days, we don't care. Okay, let's publish the website. So they will go ahead with the business objective, which is publishing the website, and they will not do any mitigation, and they will accept the risk of cyber attacks. They will accept it. Okay, and the first condition is when the impact is not huge on the business. But if I have a website that already had a database full of customer data and full of the credit card numbers, at that time, because the impact is going to be huge, and there is a fines from the government, and also it's going to impact me financially and impact my reputation, at that time, management cannot take this risk because the impact is huge. So accepting the risk is on one condition or two conditions. I would say the other condition, but the first condition is if the impact is limited. Okay, let's say that you decided to make a website for fun. Okay, this website you are gonna sell, for example, plates number. Okay, you have some plates number and you decided to sell it. Okay, and you already told everyone about your website, and you publish this website to your friends also in WhatsApp group. Okay, so you don't have any customer data, you don't have any credit cards, you don't have any very important crucial data in this website. Okay, so if someone took this website down, it will not have a huge impact because you can still reach your customer through a WhatsApp channel or whatever. Okay, but if you started to accept credit card numbers, if you started to accept user information, if you start to accept people information here, and you have a huge database over here, no, you cannot accept the risk anymore because the impact is going to be huge. Okay, do you guys agree with me? So this is one case that sometimes the business go ahead with accepting the risk when the impact is not huge. Okay, go ahead.
In this case, can it be accepted for analysis and bridging the gap?
Yes, because end of day, the business, they know the criticality of the system. Okay, so they know how critical this system is. So if the system is not critical for them, it's not gonna help them to generate money. It's not gonna cause them a harm in reputation if it's down. Okay, they can say you know what, go ahead. We will go ahead with the website, even we know there's a cybersecurity threat. Okay, guys. So far, so good. Okay, let me tell
so
you.
we accept it, but we don't make any action. Yeah.
Yeah, as a security engineer, you just get you just get from the management that they are accepting the risk of this website. Khalas. Okay, now your job is done. Your job was to highlight to them, to enlighten them what is the issue of publishing a new business line, or what is the issue of having a mobile application. Okay, they can say, okay, you know what, go and mitigate this risk because we are worried about our business. So you go and implement controls, or they can tell you, go and buy insurance. Okay, so you're gonna go and do insurance. Okay. Maybe they decided to avoid the whole mobile application because it's gonna open the door for so many problems. So they can cancel the idea to start with. But in the same time, they said, you know what, it's a mobile application. It's not gonna cause anything if the mobile application is down. Okay, so we are accepting the risk of cyber attacks. At that time, you take this answer because at that time you are protecting yourself. Now the business have decided to accept the risk. Khalas, you are done. You done your job. It's their responsibility now. If something happens in the future, it will fall in their responsibility. Okay, guys. So this is accepting the risk. And as I mentioned, recently I was in interview, and someone asked me about the accepting risk. Okay. Another also, guys, another stage that you can accept the risk. Ustaza Shaza is asking, can it be accepted in external system far from risk? Far from risk. So external system, what do we mean by external system? You mean a website?
Not on the company devices, for example, in a special systems or external systems.
An external system. You mean, okay, this is another way of transferring the risk, Cesar. So it's very good point. Shaza is saying that if can we actually implement this system in another maybe cloud solution, and we move the risk away from us? That's what you mentioning. So in some cases, if you have a website and you are worried that you don't have enough security team to protect your website, okay, so you're taking your website to a cloud solution where it can host to analyze. You mean if you don't have the expertise within your organization to analyze the risk, you can go and ask someone else externally? Or to someone to do a penetration testing on your website?
No, it actually happened, but but I take this attack or vulnerabilities and transfer it on external devices to analyze it.
Okay, so you mean to analyze the website and to check if it has vulnerabilities or no, right?
No, to analyze attack and to solving them or find solution to them vulnerabilities or attack.
Yeah, okay. If you wanted to find vulnerabilities and you wanted to find remedies for this vulnerabilities and you wanted to really secure your website, this is all fall under mitigation of the risk. Mitigation risk is all about, I will go and analyze my system and try to find out what is the breaking point for my system, what is the entry point for my system, what is the vulnerability of my systems, and then I will come out with a list of all the vulnerabilities and the risk score. This is the risk assessment. I'm talking about the stage after risk analyzing or risk assessment, which is risk mitigation. Okay, how to mitigate the risk or how to manage the risk. So I give you 4 strategies: avoidance, acceptance, and reduction, and finally we're talking about avoidance. We talked about transfer as well. Okay. One more thing, guys, to say about accepting the risk before we go is, okay, I mentioned that sometimes the management will say, okay, what, we'll accept the risk. You know, we are not, there is no huge impact on us if the website is down or the mobile application is down. Okay, but in the same cases, sometimes you can, they can come up with saying, okay, you go and mitigate the risk. Go ahead and mitigate the risk. And then you start to mitigate the risk. Okay, buying controls, implementing controls until you the point that the controls price, okay, the control price or cost, okay, is higher than the asset itself and the impact of losing the asset. At that time, guys, there is also a point where they will accept the risk. Okay, again, so we mentioned two stages where we can accept the risk. If the risk is not highly impacting our organization, so we can accept the risk in this case, or the management, to be more specific, will accept the risk. Also, if you found out that the cost of the prevention control or the cost of controls is higher than the assets value for the organization. Yani, for example, you said, okay, I have a website here, and this website is gonna generate for us $10,000 a year. Okay, $10,000 a year for the entire year. This is how much it's gonna generate profit. Okay, now they told you as an engineer, can we mitigate the risk of cyber attacks? You said, yes, we can. We can buy some controls, and these controls will try to lower the risk of compromising this website. They said, okay, go ahead and tell us how much we have to pay for this control, because business, the end of days, they talk about money. So you said, okay, you know what? I will buy a firewall. I will buy something called application firewall. I will install antivirus on this server. I will do this and this. I will get someone to look at the application security in this server. So someone from external to do penetration testing. And then end of the day, you said, okay, you know what? We find out that the cost of all this controls is going to be $100,000 a year. Okay, do you think the management will accept this strategy?
No.
Okay, yes. Why? Because the control cost is higher than
So,
the assets value.
yes.
So they say, let them take it down, because it will only cost us 10,000. But what you are proposing for us is to go and get 100,000 worth of equipment and controls. So at that time also they will accept the risk. Okay, so this is another way to accept the risk. So there's two ways. One, if the risk is not hugely impacting your company. The same time, and the second case, if the cost or the cost of controls is higher than the asset value. So this is the two things that I would like to highlight here. Okay, guys, so far so good. This is
Yes,
called
so
risk
far, so good.
management. Okay, so we talked about yesterday the vulnerabilities. We talked about the CVE. Today we will continue our road to talk about threats. And I also give you guys a quick introduction about threats yesterday. And I said threats in a more technical way, not anything that can harm our system. No, anything that can compromise the system confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And we may give you guys examples yesterday about how if someone is like managed to bypass the authentication and look and get to inside the online banking system, this is compromising for confidentiality. If someone managed to change the account or transfer money without your approval or without the bank approval, it's called compromise for integrity. If someone takes the whole online banking down, okay, this is also a compromise for availability. Okay, guys. And we mentioned also there is a categories for threats. So there is a human and environmental threats like earthquakes and fires and all the stuff. We mentioned also there is some of the threats are accidental. Okay, some of them are intentionally. Some of these threats are external, coming from external world, and some of them are internally. So this is all what we already covered yesterday in the lecture. So anything that's seems not clear about what we have covered so far? Okay, only Ibtihal, all clear. Ibtisam, how about the rest? Okay, guys, if you have any question, this is the time to talk about it. Okay, so we back again to what we agreed about yesterday, that we have covered vulnerabilities. We'll talk about risk now, threats. So first of all, we will cover the same thing that we covered before. Okay, so we have to, in order to defend our system, we need to understand how the hackers groups looks like, and what their motivation to attack your system. Okay, and what kind of tools these hackers they have to attack your system, and what is the methodology and path or vectors they use to get to your system. Okay, so we agreed in a couple of days ago that there is some groups of hackers. So any the definition of hacker in general is any malicious individual who has some technical experience to start an attack or to launch an attack. So this is the general definition. Okay, I'm a hacker. I'm someone very technical. I understand system very well. I understand network. I have some scripting, capabilities, and I'm able to launch an attack against an organization. So this is the hacker in general. Okay, hackers, they categorize them according to their capability and their knowledge. Okay, so the first early stages of a hackers is called the script kiddie. So this script kiddie, in a very simple way, there are people who doesn't have any scripting capability. So they are using tools that exist in the wild. So you can, buy a tool, okay, or use a publicly available tool. So they don't have, but they know how to hack system. They have the basics, okay, but they don't develop their own attacking methods, okay. They don't know how to build a malware. They don't know how to build a ransomware, okay. They don't know how to build a command and control system that can use it to, control the victim machines. They don't know all this stuff, but they can use other people application to do this. So they call this script kiddie. And this is could be harmful, okay, if they have managed to access a very advanced tools. And if you guys wanted a story about this, back in 2017, there were NSA, which is the national agency in the US. They had their hacking tools stolen by a group of hackers, and then these tools, okay, is made publicly, so anyone can reach these tools, okay, or even you buy a small fees to get your hand on these tools, okay. And one of these tools was a very famous vulnerability that the American agency they used to exploit system with, okay, called SMB Eternal Blue. And the group of hackers, they created the ransomware WannaCry. They used this exploit. So in general, I just don't want to go and script kiddie could be really dangerous if they have the very advanced tools. Okay, guys. We talked also about hacktivism or hacktivism as an idea or ideology. Is a group of people with I would say moderate capabilities, okay, and they have political agenda, or they have something in mind they wanted to make the government to do. So they hack for a reason. This is a very simple thing. So they hack, as I mentioned, I give you an example of Israeli and Palestinian political situation, okay? Also, we have insider, someone within your organization that he has a malicious intent. So he basically, he developed maybe a connection with the external world to exfiltrate data outside. So for example, I remember one of the attacks that happened in Ukraine maybe a few years ago. that the attacker wanted to attack the port system where the ships comes and ships goes. He wanted to attack. Okay, so the attacker couldn't really find any way to get inside the port area where the computer system is. So they hired one of the the cleaners to give him a USB chip to just plug it in one of the computer inside the organization. And from this malicious code that's run on this USB chip, they managed to have an access to one of the computers, and then they hacked the entire network. So malicious or employee with a malicious intent, or even not malicious intent, like someone is already doing something by mistake, could be also posing could be a threat to your organization. Okay, we have also a very advanced groups, which is I would say that they call them the nation states, or they call them sometimes they give them APT, which is advanced persistent threat. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
this is all of these actors, they are out there to get your systems. Okay. Again, that's I mentioned this is exactly like if you have a house, okay, and in your house you have very valuable stuff like money or whatever, and you have people outside, they wanted to steal you. Okay, so in order to protect your house, you wanted to know what kind of person is gonna steal your house. Okay, it's a gang. Okay, a group of people with very advanced weapons and very well good plan and enough resources, so they will be able to steal your house with no problem. Okay, and if it's only individual, okay, so in order to protect your house, you need to understand what kind of people can attack you. So if you know that it's some kids in this neighborhood, maybe they have a malicious intent, maybe just buying a lock, and buying a camera system will be enough. But if you know that there is a gang is over there, they wanted to steal you, maybe you will hire 2, 3, 4 guards here. You give them weapons. You make sure that you have a mission detection that's connected to the police station, and you take your own precautions. So that's why we are teaching you what kind of threats out there in the wild. Okay, guys. As I mentioned, nation states means it's kind of hacking group that is supported by nations, by governments. Okay, and I give you so many examples. So every country right now is building their own cyber armies. Okay, even in Saudi Arabia. So you find an army of cyber technical teams. They are there to defend or to attack. Okay, and these guys are very well funded. So they take in courses, they have resources, they have money, they have the time, they plan very well. So nation states is very dangerous, and if your company or the organization that you are working for is being targeted by a nation state, so you need to make sure that you defend the system in a very well organized way. Okay, guys. I think now, and they give here some they give you some examples. So you have Russia APT, which is 28. It's fancy bear. How did I get these names? There is a framework for attacks. They called it MITRE ATT&CK. You can Google it online. It will give you what kind of threats out there, and they call them according to what kind of methodology they use to attack their systems. Okay, so Russia has so many groups. Iran has so many groups. The United States has so many groups. China, BLA, which is the army of the Chinese cyber war, is also is there. So, and they give them name, and they give you on this website, which is MITRE ATT&CK. They give you what techniques they use to infiltrate system or to attack system. So you need to, it's kind of, they give you how can they attack your system. So in order to defend your system in a better way. And inshallah, and later in this course, I will give you full presentation about MITRE ATT&CK, because it's very important to understand. Okay, guys, and you will end up finding yourself maybe in interview being asked about MITRE ATT&CK. Okay, guys, but remind me. Okay, then I will stop here. I just give you, this is our revision for today. We talked about our risk, vulnerability, and the threats, and I also reviewed with you what is the threats actors, the one that exist in the wild, and why we need to study them So in order to defend ourselves in a better way, and also remember what Chinese leaders said about, you need to know understand yourself, and you need to understand your enemy. So this is kind of like, I'm telling you about how to understand your enemy. So this is gonna be our revision for today. I'm gonna give you a break of 15 minutes. Would that be okay?
Okay.
Okay, so in 15 minutes, after 15 minutes, we'll come back here again. It's around 10 o'clock now, it's around 15. We'll come back here again, and we'll start to look at what we mean by threat vectors, and what a threat vector is all about, and what kind of attacks it exists in the wild. Okay, guys, I will see you,
Okay.
inshallah, in 15 minutes. Have a great day.
See you. Thank you.